These two teams are going to play each other 2 out of the next 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles favored by 12 here, and they haven't won in December. Tommy DeVito. So we haven't seen this matchup yet this year. The Eagles struggled a little bit with the Commanders, the lowly Commanders, who took them to the wire twice, including overtime once, when we thought the Eagles were better. Will the Giants be that type of division rival that just kind of makes life difficult for the Eagles, even though the Eagles most likely will pull the win off in the end here?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, right now, genuinely, we kind of joked earlier that the Eagles might just not be good. When you look at their record, that seems kind of silly, but recently they haven't been. I mean, it's not just been a similar story to what it was earlier in the season of, you know, they weren't quite firing on all cylinders and yada yada. Like, they've actually not been good recently. So it's a real concern. I mean, the defense is getting gashed. The offense, I think, has been a bit too predictable, in addition to just not being as good as it should have been. Their strategy against Seattle was very strange to me, where it looked like they could have just spent the entire game picking apart that zone defense and putting the ball in the seams and taking 10, 15 yards every single play. And then every time they went on a run of a few of those plays, they then went away from it, or they then got greedy and tried to take a big chunk play off the top of it instead of just taking that every time, if that's what's there. The other dynamic, obviously, in this particular matchup is this offense going up against Wink Martindale's blitz-happy defense, right? It's a very different blitz-happy defense to Flores and the Vikings, but it is very blitz-heavy. And so, you know, Jalen Hurts against the blitz, this season he's been pretty good. And, you know, obviously given his rushing ability, it's a dangerous tactic as well, unless you're prepared to blitz and contain at the same time. I think generally speaking, Jalen Hurts is not really a quarterback you want to blitz, but it's what the Giants do.
They scored 48 against the Giants last year when Hurts was the quarterback. Hurts played Week 18. It was 22-16, and then I think they knew they might. Well, Hurts was coming back off injury, if I recall. He wasn't as good in that game, a little rusty, and then they played in the playoffs and just blew the doors off them.
Yeah,
the Eagles, 38-7. It wasn't even that close. So just something to keep an eye on. They've had more success than not, I would say, against Wink in that defense. See if Tommy DeVito can pull some of that magic. I mean, that's the other part too. DeVito.
Rough game for Cutlets last week.
It was. I mean, he got sacked 7 times, and Giants quarterbacks this year, I mean, how many times have they been sacked 7 or more times in a game? It's been a bunch. And so the Eagles' pass rush that has not been as good this year, is that because they're not blowing teams out, don't have as many opportunities, whatever it is, they're still good at winning one-on-ones relative to the rest of the league, and should have opportunities to create 5, 6, 7 sacks in this game.
I mean, Cutlets is quietly alongside Sam Howell as like the most sack-attracted quarterback in the NFL. He has been sacked 35 times this season already. The guy's barely played. He is not just that, but he is converting 39% of pressured plays into sacks, which is just like a mind-blowingly high number. I mean, these are the numbers Sam Howell had earlier in the year where you're like, what is happening here? Howell has reduced those a little bit, but Cutlets is still right up there.
Yeah. Giants have a tough time blocking up front. So DeVito's going to have to play a special game.
The two quarterbacks with the highest rate of pressure converted into sacks are both Giants quarterbacks. It's DeVito at 39 and then Daniel Jones at 31.6.
Tyrod, who's usually not good at that, was the best of that trio. Philly's offense, I still can't really figure them out, right? They used to have every answer last year. They had games where it was the run game, it was the pass game, it was deep passes, it was short passes. They had all the answers. They don't have them this year. I think it's still on the team, though. They're still there. Like, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are still healthy. Dallas Goedert's back, and Hurts is still good, and they could still run it. And all the answers are still there, but the Eagles have to spend these next 3 weeks figuring out what their identity is. I mean, they have to figure out some of those answers here.
Cutlets is tied for the 5th most sacked quarterback in the NFL this season.
It's impressive. He should be getting sponsorship. Should be like insurance agencies or something.
He's been sacked the same number of times as C.J. Stroud in half the games.
He's gonna be bloated off the 7 fishes too from Christmas Eve. You have the nice big Italian meal and 7 fishes. It's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah.
That's Christmas Eve. Christmas Day could slow him down a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't feel like optimal pregame nutrition.
You got to do it. It's the family. You got to do what the family's doing. You know. It's the tradition.
Yeah.
You know Tommy's going to have the 7 fishes Christmas Eve, no matter what.
Right. I'm going to
pick a game.
I'm going to take Philadelphia to cover. And then just before we get out of here and stop this show, I'm going to regret asking this, but what is the 7 fishes?
It's not. I don't think it's specific. You just have to have 7.
You just have to have 7 different fish?
Yeah. I never really did it, but my cousin Jeff, he would always do it.
Yeah.
We'd have like octopus and squid and lobster, of course,
7's
as I
quite a
told you,
lot.
was our main.
Yeah.
Let me text Jeff and see what his 7 are, and I'll get back to you.
All right. 7's quite a lot of different fish.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It's not the easy,
What did we have? Octopus, squid.
It's like we hear
calamari. We'd have some calamari.
that is squid.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You're right. I'm sorry. It's the same name.
It's like where you hear these, like seven meat stews, and you start thinking, you gotta go some to get to 7. It's a lot of different animals.
I don't know. I'm only 75% Italian, so I'm missing some of those.
That's true.
Some of the fishes.
Yeah.